This is definitely not what today's video is supposed to be about, but I kind of think we need to talk about something. Hey guys, it's Jamie, and this video is definitely going to be a lot more serious than my normal videos, and I just felt like I couldn't not make a video on it. So some of you will have heard about the memo going around from the Trump administration, which is suggesting the possibility of defining somebody's gender based on the sex they were assigned at birth, as in genitals. And to quote, "The sex listed on a person's birth certificate as originally issued shall constitute definitive proof of a person's sex unless rebutted by reliable genetic evidence." This means that legally and forever, trans people will be recognised as the sex they were assigned at birth and not their gender, which is just like a mind-blowing concept. I would just forever be recognised as a woman, and trans women would be forever recognised as men, unless this could be rebutted using reliable genetic testing. Just the idea that you need to have any kind of genetic testing, or it's even a consideration that you would need to have that, is beyond me. I know at this stage it's from a memo and it's all a suggestion and that stuff, but like, I wanted to talk about it because even the fact that this kind of thing is being discussed or considered or just suggested or thought by people is quite frankly horrifying. Trans people, particularly trans women and particularly trans women of colour, are already victimised, discriminated against and killed just for being trans. And I can only imagine that the shit thrown at trans people will only increase if they are never able to be recognised as the correct gender. As in the gender that people live as and present as and are socially recognised as and your friends refer to you as and you go to work as and you just live like just you are that gender. How can you not be recognised as that gender that you live as? I don't get it. And the idea that anything is forever defined by what you were like as a baby, like when you were born, is completely ridiculous. If I were to be legally recognised as a woman based on what I was like as a baby, then surely I should still be recognised as being 52 centimetres tall with a little tuft of black hair and no teeth. I mean, somebody get me a dentist. And the argument behind defining gender based on genitals at birth follows this logic. On a biological basis that is clear, grounded in science, objective, and administrable. That's their reasoning behind suggesting why the definition of gender should be changed. But there is nothing scientific or objective about defining gender based on somebody's genitals at birth or based through genetic testing. It's actually very unscientific because science has shown that gender and sex are different and require different definitions and develop differently. Gender is up here, and whilst you're in the womb as a little alien-looking fetus, your brain and your genitals develop at different stages of prenatal development. So for most people, brain and genitals develop in a congruent way, but for some people, as in trans people, this development can be different. This is basically caused by unusual levels of androgen exposure at the very particular times of prenatal development when one or other is developing. And this can lead to somebody's genitals developing in a male typical way, so somebody having a penis, but their brain developing in a female typical way, which means their gender would be female. And there are different combinations of this incongruent development, so somebody could be born with a vagina but a male typical brain, leading to a male gender identity. Bear in mind that that is a very basic overview of this research. It's very in-depth, there's a lot on it if you want to go read about it. I just wanted to give like a brief example, and I don't want to spend too long talking about it. I don't want this video to be like an hour long. But there is also evidence that trans people have brain structures associated with the gender they identify as rather than the sex they were assigned at birth. And this proposed new way of potentially defining gender is just purely subjective and rooted in ignorance and bigotry. And what about people who are intersex? How can you define the gender of somebody based on genitals at birth if they are intersex? In terms of genetic testing, yes, XY and XX is the most typical thing, but it does happen where people will not fit into a box of a specific type of genital or specific chromosomes, and if this proposed definition of gender were in effect, you would not be able to apply it to everybody. It's just it doesn't make sense. What? To contextualise this just utter handful of bollocks that has been suggested, if something like this were to ever happen and this definition were legally used, anything where people are separated by gender or where gender is recorded or visible, I would be down as female and I would be grouped with women. This would be in the context of things like schooling, sports, the bank, getting a job, doctors, birth certificate, passport. Like I wouldn't be able to travel without everybody knowing that I was assigned female at birth and I was legally still recognised as such. Getting married and the birth certificate of my future kids. And for a trans woman, everything would just be down as male. This is so wrong on so many levels, and I hope the people watching this can see how ridiculous it is. And if you're trans watching this, I'm really sorry if it's made you feel like shit. This whole thing that's happened, you are still valid. There are just some proper assholes in the world still. Trans people are not a threat. They're not a danger to society. It's not a negative influence on you or anybody else or the world in general. Trans people are just people. Nobody asks or chooses to be trans. Trust me when I say that not being trans would have saved me a shit ton of just misery and despair and fear and money and just time and so much of my life as well. If I hadn't been trans, just a lot of things would be different. I really hope to God that it goes no further than what's already happened, because the fact that what's already happened has happened is beyond me. I'm kind of, I'd say I'm speechless, but I literally just made a whole video on it and I thought it was important to make a video about it. I wanted to talk about it. I don't normally do videos like this, like stuff has happened in the past where I've not made a video about it. I never want to feel like I'm just jumping on a bandwagon of making a video and talking about the same topic that everybody else has, but like I wanted to vent about this. I wanted to have a discussion. I'm sure I have left out a bunch of great points and a bunch of information, and if I have and you know it, please leave it down in the comments and comment anything else that you think. Tweet about it, etc. Whatever you want. Let the world know that it's stupid. And I don't mean to make it sound like it's all about me in this video, like I only used myself as examples to put things in context. If you're watching this video, this is a very broad issue. As always guys, thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time. Much love. Bye!